Welcome to the Dr. Karin Show, where the mind, body, and heart meet the soul. I am so glad you're here today because we're going to help clean out something in your life that I know everyone has dealt with it if you're not dealing with it now. It is how to let go of toxic people, how to spot them, how to know if it's time to let go of them, and then how to do it. I know because I'm like always going through this. I seem to call them in, sometimes we call them in for a lesson, sometimes we call them in for our growth. Actually, all the time we call them in for our growth because a lot of it is about learning our lessons with them, finding that gratitude in the relationship at the end of letting go, and the gratitude in yourself for growing. So we're going to talk about that. I just want to remind you guys, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Karin, and I have 2 courses on my website. I particularly want to tell you about one of them today. First of all, just go to my website, drkarin.com, DOCTORKARIN, and just get on my list. Like I have a great free video at the top of my website. It's called 7.5 Ways to Be Happy Right Now. And just put your name in there, then you're part of my inner circle, and you'll get special offerings from me. You'll get emails from me just like once a week, every 2 weeks, and you get this free video. And I really want to get to know you guys better and have you on my inner circle. So if you resonate with me, join me there. If you are a woman and you're trying to find a way out of a way of living that was like kind of just like based in fear and based in a place of just being stuck, I have this amazing Break the Rules challenge, Sisterhood for Women, where when I say challenge, I like every month you're going to get in your inbox this beautiful like rock star challenge that's going to bring out your spiritual badass. It's going to challenge you to like be your most authentic self. It's going to be so fun. I have a ton of women that are doing it right now, and we have a community there, and you get teaching videos from me, and you just get really inspired to come into who you are and live more authentically. So that at my website, drkarin.com, is the Break the Rules Sisterhood, and I would love to have you in that group because we're having so much fun in there. I love it. I get to be who I am. I get to cuss a lot. I get to wear big earrings. It's super fun. So here, we're going to talk about something that makes us want to cuss a lot, and that is toxic people that drive us crazy. So let's talk about how to spot toxic people. Okay, so people can be annoying. People can just drive you crazy, especially family. But there are people that are certainly toxic to our lives, and I'm talking about where they're like, another word for it is like emotional vampire. You have people that are users, you have people that are even abusive, you have people that are narcissists, which is a whole nother show, but we're going to address that here. We have people that belittle you, we have people that emotionally drain you. So toxic feels like you're giving and you're being sucked, something's being sucked out of you that is making you feel contracted, that's making you go to a low vibration, that's so much more worse for you without a benefit, without a reciprocity in the relationship, to where you're also being fed and loved. Now, relationships go through ebbs and flows. There are times when someone's sick or in emotional distress and they really need you, and that might be needy. You're going to do the same thing at some point, and we ebb and flow. That is what a normal, healthy relationship looks like, where we're both getting our buckets filled more. Now, if you're a caretaker like me, you may tend to fill other people's buckets more than you. So I want you to look at, if you're agreeing to doing it and just giving yourself away to everybody, you got to like clean that up in yourself and start setting new boundaries that are about you also asking that you get some time. I've had to do that recently with friends. I don't think that is necessarily toxic. I think it is just you really needing to maybe set some new boundaries and ask more for what you need instead of living in resentment for a dynamic that you're agreeing to because you're part of that agreement. I know, no shame on you because I've done it too. So that is something, but toxicity is when you are made to feel like less of a person when you're around somebody, to where you're frustrated on end, to where you can feel that there's such a lack of alignment with you and this person that it's like nails on a chalkboard, like so staticky, like there's not any fluidity or flow. And when you leave them, it's like, so when you're dealing with a narcissist, I will like bring this up several times because I have had my fair share of them. I have seemed to have had a habit of marrying them, and it is something that I've called in as a lesson, and I'm not shaming them. I just want to say, like, I came into this life obviously wanting to heal that wound, and I have come to a point where I don't agree anymore to relationships that are one-sided. I may get back into them briefly, and then once I see it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm single and I'm dating, and also with friends, like I've come into this big spiritual awakening and I've had a big life shift, like a lot of you probably have. And with that, certain people will have to drop away because you're not in alignment with them anymore. Sometimes it's just really about you just don't resonate anymore. But I want to address when it's toxic, when it's making you feel super bad. And so when a narcissist or an emotional vampire is doing this, when you are around them, you have such a contraction around them that it doesn't feel like you thought it was supposed to feel. And you feel like you'll feel it in your body. So this is part of being able to identify this. Pay attention to the way that you feel. If when that person walks in the room, and I know you felt this because I have felt it, I can remember distinctively the person that used to make, actually people, I have several people in my life, and I mean, I can picture them. When you picture their name, like right now, that person, picture them, and if you can feel like you know they walk in the room, what does your body do? It's almost like a knot like forms inside you. You know, you get super contracted. So that's your spirit saying, stay away from this person. This is not in alignment with me. Okay, let's look at the opposite. So think of someone that you really enjoy being around. Think about someone that really lights you up and inspires you and like gets inspired by you and loves, you know, what you do for a living, loves who you are as a parent or a friend or a nurse or whatever it is that you do. They really love that about you and they want to hear about it. Like, think about that person and you expand. So this is the opposite feeling. So when you think about that person coming in the room or you get to have coffee or a drink with them, like, you get excited. That is alignment with somebody. That's the opposite of toxicity, okay? When you picture being with that person, you get an expansive feeling. You get a feeling of looking forward to it, okay? That is your soul telling you, your emotional guidance system telling you, you're in alignment with that person. Their value system, their view of you is in alignment with the way that Source sees you. It's alignment with the way that your higher self sees you, okay? Toxic people. The way they see you, the way they see themselves, the way they see the world, when you're contracting around them, your emotional guidance system, your higher self, your inner being is telling you they're not in alignment with you. And being out of alignment means that the way that they view the world, the way that they view you is not in alignment with the way that Source views you or that your higher self views you. And your emotional guidance system will tell you that, okay? So there's the groundwork. And why we don't want them around us is because, and I know sometimes this isn't easy because sometimes it's family or it's someone that you have to work with, but we'll talk about boundaries. The reason that we've got to keep our energy from being exchanged with them is because when we're around them, we're going to contract. Okay, let's again look at the energy scale. When we contract and we're in a feeling of resentment, or maybe they make you feel guilty or ashamed or small, you're going down and vibrating around a 30 or a 20, and you can even drop down to a 10. We want you vibrating up and around 100, 150, where you're in acceptance and joy and happiness. When you're vibrating higher and you're around somebody that loves you and that inspires you and that gets inspired by you, and you have that beautiful emotional energetic exchange, you're expanding spiritually, which means you're expanding mentally and psychologically and physically, and you can be your best self because you're at a place of high creativity, high productivity, a high ability to just be who you are in your fullest potential. When you're contracted and you're around that person that does not match you, you cannot be who you are because you're in a place that's vibrating in a place of contraction, and you can't be productive or creative or happy or at peace when you're there. And you know that because you felt it around them, right? So how to decide? So if you're feeling that way more than not, like 75% to 100%, you're feeling negative around them, this person needs to go from your life or at least go from your energy field. So when I say at least go from your energy field, I know you can't take everyone out of your life because they may be related or working with you, but you can decide how much energy you exchange with this person, okay? You can decide whether or not you're going to engage. So this is the biggest piece, especially with narcissists and with emotional vampires and with people that are abusive with you. You give them power by engaging, okay? This is the biggest word here, and engagement is totally up to you, all right? They're gonna wanna come back to you because if you've agreed to this for a lot of time, again, do not go into a place of shame when I'm talking about this. I don't want you to contract. I want you just to see this as an observer if you've done this, because I know I've done it. I've done it so many times. I'm the expert on this. When you go back, the reason we tend to go back to people that are narcissists or go back to people that are abusive is there's usually something from our childhood, something that we've learned where we are trying to heal an inner child. Maybe our parents treated us this way. Maybe we're trying to re-experience a dynamic that reminds us of something that we couldn't solve as a child, something that caused us pain as a child. This is the psychological and the mental and emotional part of ourselves. So even though it's subconscious, as an adult, we are trying to go back and recreate. Our soul calls in energetically more of that experience because somehow we think that if we can correct it with this person, we can correct it with all of it, okay? But with someone that's a narcissist or that's an abuser, they cannot be corrected. Hear me, you cannot change them. And this is the biggest piece. When I finally got this, it was such an aha, life-changing moment for me. And so I want you to get it. My metaphor for dealing with an abuser or dealing with a narcissist is like banging your head against a wall over and over again and not expecting it to bleed, and somehow expecting the other person to get a wound, and they're not. They're like sitting there on a pillow getting all their needs met while you continuously bang your head on the wall. What does that even mean, Karin? Well, when you're dealing with someone that's a narcissist, they are going to only see their way. Part of the definition of a narcissist, there is such thing in psychology. You know, I'm clinically trained therapist. There is a diagnosable disorder in the diagnostic manual. It's called narcissistic personality disorder. Part of the criteria for diagnosing that is it's about a person's inability to be empathic, to feel feelings for other people. It's about the inability for someone to actually consider somebody else's point of view. It's about the grandiose view this person has of themselves, to where they only think about things through their own, to expand their own ego, to expand their own greatness in the world. And they don't have the ability to hear the other person's opinion because they have such a grandiose view of themselves, okay? Do you know someone like this? My guess is you do. I know many of them. I've dated them. Here's the deal. When someone is like that, why it's so hard for you, especially if you're an empath, is that you don't operate that way, okay? So this is the catch that is going to really heal you in this process. The reason it's so hard is because you don't understand it. You're wired totally differently. So the place of healing is when you can accept that they actually have a very different mental loop, a very different psychological process in them. They literally are a different animal than you. So when you hear someone speak, and when you hear someone's point of view and someone's hurting in front of you, or they want you to hear their perspective, you may want to say yours, and you may be angry, or you may be dealing with a dynamic, but you'll stop, and after you get through being angry, you'll listen, okay, and you'll process it, and you take into consideration maybe their history or how they're feeling, and you'll want to make things better because you don't like seeing the other person hurt. A narcissist doesn't have that ability, okay? Someone that's so wrapped up in themselves, that's super toxic, is so hell-bent on proving their point, they do not have the ability to stop and consider your feeling, okay? So the more you are saying, listen to me, that's the banging your head against the wall and expecting it not to bleed, because they're not only have no interest or no ability to hear you, severe narcissists actually get more annoyed with you the more emotional you get. And it is super disabling for those of us that go through that dynamic, because we then get more emotional and they get more irritated because they don't tap into that in themselves. They don't, just like you don't understand the inability in them, they don't understand your hyper emotional state, and they will actually make them angry, and they'll start projecting things onto you. And people that are really good at narcissism are very good at gaslighting. They're very good at pointing out your flaws from 10, 5, 15 years ago, from last week, and distracting you from what you're really trying to prove, because they're so disconnected from the message you're trying to purvey. They want to dismantle you, because any threat to their power, any threat to their control over you, they're going to have a fear reaction. And instead of translating that into a empathic journey with you, where you can sit and talk about both sides, they immediately are going to respond with a need for power. Okay, so, and I know I'm dwelling on narcissists a lot just because I feel like I'm being led to do that, because this is the most toxic person to me in relationships. The inability for them to come down any kind of empathic highway. They want to be in control all the time. So let me just tell you, what's under narcissism is actually a really deep-rooted fear of not being in control. It's actually a very deep-rooted insecurity. And over the years, they've mounted this like false sense of self, to where they see themselves in such a grandiose way that they literally have blocked out the pathway to empathy with other people, of reciprocity. And a lot of these people are in positions of power, are heads of companies. They can be very charming when you first meet them. So part of the draw, let me just offer you some compassion, because I know for me, this is part of it. Part of the draw, like I was saying, we have this inner child that maybe our dad was a narcissist, or maybe we just had a brother or something, or you've had a relationship in the past where you've dealt with this. And so your soul is still trying to heal it, so you maybe call another one in. The compassion for you is that you are trying to heal this place in you that is still really hurting. And so if you can pull away and instead know that you're going to have that healing isn't going to come from actually you not giving that other person your power, because for them, the experience is purely about power. And for you to know every time I engage with this person, every time I let this person have an emotional drop of me, they're actually being fed. I mean, literally, it is food. It is a drug for them. They are fed by your energy, by your emotion, by your weakness, perceived weakness, if they can make you feel weak. And so any attempt to somehow bring them to your level, somehow to bring them to a relational, reciprocal place where there's empathy exchange, they're so afraid of that because that means vulnerability for them. They're not going to come down there. The key thing with dealing with specifically with narcissist is not engaging. I mean, and it is cut and dry, because you're never going to change that person. They're never going to hear your point of view. You can say it in Spanish, English, and do an interpretive dance and try to show them a million different books on it, send them a million different, links to different, articles and different videos. They're not going to hear it the way you hear it, okay? That part of their brain is literally turned off, all right? So I want you to have the acceptance. I'm not going to change them. So instead of continuously banging my head against the wall and trying to make this person see, I'm going to come to a place of acceptance because Dr. Karin is telling me this, and actually it makes sense. Even though it doesn't make sense to me because I'm not like this person, I'm going to have to let go of that need to solve that, even though I think it's going to heal my inner child. It's not. It's continuing not only to hurt my inner child, but to hurt the adult I am now. So I'm going to let go of that need to fix them, to change them, and I'm going to pull my energy back in and stop giving them the power. So this looks like when I get text messages or phone messages from the narcissist in my life, what I do is I will scan them very quickly for any pertinent information I might need, and then I immediately erase them, okay? Because instead of going back like you may do, I definitely have done it, and ruminating over the email or the message or the whatever they've sent you or left for you, because they're trying to have power over you and they're trying to break you down. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. If you need it, like if you're going through a divorce and you need it as evidence, you need it, you want to save it as proof, send it to somebody. I have someone in my life that takes this stuff from me. I just forward it to them and I ask, would you just put this somewhere? Because the more you get it out of your life, the more you will diminish that interaction of energy with them, which again contracts you. The more you take your power back and erase that from your life, the more you claim your energy back and claim your power back, which is what we want for you. Okay, so send it to somebody for safekeeping in case you need it later. Don't keep it to where you can access it. Again, you'll be banging your head against the wall and expect it not to bleed. It will bleed the more you go back and make yourself crazy by trying to solve it, okay? So not only are narcissists, so let's just talk really briefly about people that are like emotional vampires, all right? So maybe you have someone in your life that isn't really narcissistic per se. Maybe they have narcissistic tendencies, but maybe they want to talk about themselves 24 hours a day, but they're not like malicious. If you need, if maybe they have tended to you at some point, but you realize like you are giving them so much of your energy. Maybe they've gone through a really rough spot, but like that rough spot in their life has been like a year, 2 years, and you're hearing, and I'm saying this because this has happened to me so many times lately. It's typical with just my friendships where I'm realizing over time, I'm not getting the same playtime, the same airtime with them. Like we've gotten caught in such a dynamic where I'm giving this person so much of my energy, and it's like, I have fed into it. So again, you have the choice to engage in all of these dynamics. It is your choice to engage or not to engage. So you have the power here. It's totally up to you. You do not have to take these phone calls and these text messages. So one of the biggest pieces of this is getting the guilt out of the way for changing the dynamic, especially if you've engaged in a caretaking relationship with this person. Let's remove the guilt, because here's what you want in your life. You want happiness. You want to bring people in that offer that give and take and that fill you up and inspire you instead of drain you. So the identifier for someone that's an emotional vampire is that they're taking up 80 to 90, well, let's say 70 to 80 to 90 to 100% of the phone conversations, of the emails. Their problems are always worse than yours. They may have a lot of problems. Maybe they're sick. Maybe, when their parents has died. Maybe, stuff has happened. Now, I'm not talking about people that go through loss or that go through illness and that have, periods where they need help. And of course we're there for people, and of course we love them and give them compassion and offer them friendship and support. I'm talking about people who literally stay in that place of victimhood. Everything they can drop in 2 seconds, the world's out to get them. Everything is a wah-wah story. They have very few moments of positivity, and you can feel it. I know you know people like this. It brings you down. And if you're going to agree to sit in that space with them. Again, I'm not talking about people that are having temporary crises, okay? Yes, sit with them, cry with them, talk to them about how much it freaking sucks. People do need validation. I'm a therapist. It does heal people to feel like they're heard, okay? When people are having temporary crises, when they've had loss, when they're in places of grief, listen to them, agree that it's a horrible thing. That is actually love, that is compassion. I'm talking about the people that pervasively, more than not, over months and years, stay in that mindset, okay? And they end up feeling like emotional vampires on you, like someone is literally in your neck and all they want to do is suck your emotion and your sympathy out of you, because they've learned to live with this mindset and they keep attracting this in. And so the more you're with them, the more you will attract it, and the more it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And they'll be like, see, everyone's out to get me. And so, like I've had friends who have stayed in relationships for years that are so bad for them, and you just keep hearing the same story. And for a while, like I support them, but over time, like this has happened to me with several girlfriends and I know because I've been that girl, okay? I've been that girl many times. You guys know I've been divorced twice. And looking back, I actually had a friend say to me one time, Karin, it seems like all of your problems are worse than mine, and I really need to disengage from you for a while. This happened to me about after my first divorce, so this is like 18 years ago. And you know what? I needed to hear that. Like, it actually makes me want to cry, because I did not realize how invested I had gotten in my own pain and in my own story. Like, it was a really shitty experience, but there comes a time when you need to move forward. I needed to get help. And what I was doing was I was using my pain as an excuse to not be there for other people. Like, I was always late everywhere, and I was like, I was trumping everyone with this like story. And she got tired of it, and she told me, you know what? It was one of the most powerful like healing things anyone ever said to me. And so that actually is a tactic. If you think someone can be shaken out of it, you can try doing that with someone. For me, because I wanted to spiritually grow, of course I was nowhere near who I am now. I made a shift, and I've never forgotten that she said that to me. And I use this when I teach this, because I'm like, sometimes we have to realize, and I just had a really tough conversation with a friend of mine because of it. And I had to say the same thing to her. I was like, and if you want to salvage the friendship, and you feel like the person doesn't have a personality disorder, which means that they literally are unchangeable, but like if you feel like you've had really good years, maybe you've had a really bad year where it's like all been about them, go to them and just say, I just had to do this. Just say, like what my friend said to me, like, I feel like I know you've had a hard time, but I feel like we've just been focusing on you so much for so long, and I love you and I miss you, and I really need to have some love like sent back to me. And I'm just gonna throw it out there, like I don't think you realize, like when we're on the phone, like 90% of the time we're talking about your stuff, and I'm sorry for what you're going through, but for us to work again, I want us to get back to where we were sharing time. Like, if you want to salvage the relationship and you don't feel like it's toxic, that's a really smart thing to do. The person might get angry, they'll probably cry, but I will say it can be super healing. And for you to claim your own truth, it'll be super healing for you, because the more you know what you don't want, which is someone sucking all of your energy and the life out of you, the more you know what you do want, which is a reciprocal relationship, which is someone you can also turn to, which is someone that celebrates you and wants to know about your life and that can support you, and that's high energy, all right? So don't forget, the more you take these people out of your life, the more you're going to allow space for the people that you want in. So let's just talk about that. I'm going to end with this, the letting go, all right? So if it's someone that's like not going to change and you really need a point, maybe it's going to be a temporary, release, or it might be a permanent release. Maybe you're just totally done. And if you feel like you're totally done, follow that in your spirit. If you feel liberation when you picture that person gone, liberate yourself. And here's how to do it. So, you want to do it spiritually. I want you to do it consciously. I want you to do it not if you're doing it out of resentment, if you're doing it out of trying to guilt the other person, or trying to get back at them, or trying to get power over them and leading with the ego, you're going to keep attracting that back to you, because you're going to be using energy that's of a low vibration. So I want you to use the energy when you can get right with yourself, get in a place of meditation. It doesn't have to take that long. Just sit down and think. All right, now I want you to do 3 things. I want you to get really clear on why this person's not good for you, and get really clear on what you actually prefer. All right, so that's manifesting what you prefer. I want you also to think about what you've appreciated about this person. Okay, that's the second step. What did you really enjoy about this person when you met them? What are the good pieces of them? All right, again, that's going to contribute to you manifesting the next person, because there are probably parts of this person that you really liked. Thirdly, I want you to look at and ask for in your prayer and meditation that the highest good be done for all, ask one of your higher beings, Archangel Michael is beautiful at this, to cut the cords, to cut the attachments between you and them. Just sit in a really safe place and just ask Archangel Michael, my angels, God, source, whoever you want to call on. Archangel Michael, please cut the cords of attachment between this person and me, cut the emotional binds, cut any guilt or any obligation that I've spiritually been tethered to in a soul agreement. I ask that those be cut now. My lesson has been learned. I want to reclaim my authentic self. I want to reclaim my power. I want to reclaim drawing in relationships that are safe, that are reciprocal, that are expanding. All right. Ask for what you want. Ask that the cords be cut. Ask that any guilt be released. Ask that those cords drop away and be sent back into the earth and be recycled for good. Ask that they be absorbed by Mother Earth and that they be sent away with love and compassion. And then I want you to extend compassion to that person, because for the person to be acting the way that they were acting, they obviously are in some place of suffering in their inner being. So just breathe a breath of healing and compassion over them. Ask that they be blanketed in white light. Send them into the white light of God. But picture yourself as, sometimes I'll wrap them in like a cloak of light. I'll wrap myself in a cloak of light. And I ask that the energy exchange that they may continue to try to draw towards me, that it be cut off and disallowed. I ask that the white light of God and that their angels take them to a place that is for their highest good and that they get healing, and I release any obligation to them. Okay. And then I express gratitude. So this is the big piece. I express gratitude for the lessons that I learned and for reclaiming back who I really want to be and taking my power and my energy back. And I thank my guides for guiding me to that place. Now, just one more thing I want to leave you with, and I feel so calm right now, like that is such a good ritual, prayer, meditation for you to do. Here's just the warning sign, just to say, as you move forward in your day and you're feeling calm and you can feel this energetic detachment from them, refrain. Do not go back and talk about how negative they are. Do not go back to people and talk about what a negative force they were for you. Do not go back and relive all the drama that you were living with them, because if you do that, you're actually going to draw the energy back in. You're going to start putting connections and cords between you and that person, and you're going to re-engage with them energetically and again draw that back into your life. All right. So if you want to have full control over this, refrain from engaging with the energy of speaking about the negativity that you experienced. Just whenever it comes up for you or if someone mentions it to you, you can just say, you know what? Depends on how conscious the person is. You can say you're not in alignment that much anymore. You can just say, we just don't see each other as much anymore, but you wish them the best. Do not re-engage in conversations or with them. I know we could go on and on about this, but I've given you some really great usable tips and tools for now. I hope that you have found great healing in this. I have. It's part of my path. It's part of what is always kind of challenging us as we grow as conscious beings. And it's a necessary place. Do not feel guilty about it. It's a necessary place for growth, because then you're opening up your life for the things you really want to come in. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Remember, when you lead with love, you're always going in the right direction. Bye, guys.